Another major winter storm is coming to the United States this weekend, and this is going to bring a ton of different problems, including the risk for heavy snowfall that could lead to significant snowfall accumulation, in addition to the return of severe weather. And this will be one of the biggest risks of severe weather we've seen all year long, with damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes all being possible. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about this winter storm and why it is very different from every winter storm that we've dealt with so far in 2025. But let's begin with what's happening across the United States today, and you'll notice right off the bat we got a lot of stuff happening on the East Coast. We just had a severe weather event take place back over in the Dixie Alley yesterday. We ended up seeing two different large tornadoes, one in western Alabama and the other one in eastern Mississippi, and overall this risk is now dying out. We only have a few strong storms left over from this that are moving across parts of the Florida Panhandle and as well as back through Georgia. Elsewhere though, we got a lot of snow still falling back over in the Northeast, in addition to some freezing rain. This will eventually move out as we go later into the afternoon hours, as that area of moisture coming out of the Pacific Ocean is running its course. We are pretty much done with this providing moisture here in the United States, and that is going to lead to a drier weather pattern for about 24 hours on the East Coast until our next winter storm, which will arrive late Friday into early Saturday. From this right here on the West Coast, a huge atmospheric river event is coming from the Pacific Ocean, and this is about to dump a ton of rain and snow along the West Coast today, and then eventually this is going to turn into a major winter storm for the remainder of the lower 48 as we go into this weekend. And before we do an in-depth analysis on the next winter storm that's happening this weekend, I do want to recap our winter storm from yesterday across the Central Plains in the Midwest, which overall didn't end up being much of a winter storm. We had a few pockets back over in Iowa and even in northwestern parts of Missouri and a few locations along the Wisconsin and Illinois border that actually end up picking up over a half a foot of snowfall. But for the most part, this winter storm underperformed for many areas, including the Kansas City area, where we only had about 2 to 3 inches of snow, which was well below forecasted. So in general, this winter storm did underperform for many areas in the Central Plains and the Midwest. I made multiple video updates talking about this. It was on an uptrend at one point, and then it went right back down in yesterday morning's forecast, and in general, it ended up underperforming. Definitely not a winter storm that many of you are hoping for, especially with the snow drought that we are currently experiencing in these areas, but there should be some more snow here as we go into Saturday and Sunday. Now let's talk more about this big winter storm that is coming to the United States this weekend, and we will begin with what's happening over the next 24 hours. To begin with, we have that large winter storm that's back now into Canada in far northern New England, with a few isolated strong storms still left over back over in the southeast throughout the next several hours. Back over on the West Coast, things are getting very interesting. We got heavy snow in the Sierra Nevada, and then also heavy rainfall along the West Coast, which is going to lead to some areas to pick up as much as 2 to 4 inches of rain today. Eventually, as we go into tonight, a lot of that snow and rain will spread across the Rockies. All the snow and rain will move offshore tonight, with very little light snowfall remaining as we go into Friday morning. Eventually, as we go into Friday afternoon and evening, that is when this winter storm is going to start to form back over in the Midwest, where there will be some light to moderate snowfall in some areas, and this snowfall should just add on to the snow that we saw yesterday back over in the Midwest. Eventually, as we go into Saturday morning, this snow will start to spread across the Great Lakes, still happening in the Midwest, and will eventually move into the Northeast. On the other hand, a lot of moisture is going to be coming out of the Gulf, and this is going to lead to a prime setup for severe weather alongside a potent trough and a very strong low-level jet. So we do anticipate some sort of severe weather outbreak on Saturday, which will be mainly a damaging wind risk. Numerous to widespread damaging winds will be possible, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty big day. And we're going to be live on this channel covering that severe weather event, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel and click the bell icon down below so you're notified with the latest updates. Eventually, as we go into the afternoon hours on Saturday, that severe weather risk is going to really ramp up here across the Deep South, the Tennessee Valley, and the Southeast. We will talk more about this here in just a few minutes. And then the snowstorm is going to ramp up back over in the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and back through the Northeast, where light to moderate snowfall is likely. A few pockets of heavy snowfall back over in the Northeast. And once we go into early Sunday morning, all of that rain and severe weather will track to the east, while we're going to be talking about snow and freezing rain and sleet back over in the Northeast and also parts of the Ohio Valley, including areas like Ohio and Indiana. Eventually, as we go later into Sunday, the snow and freezing rain will continue, and with this low pressure system tracking just barely offshore of New England, we should get quite a bit of snowfall, I think, back over in most of the Northeast. And by this point, you're probably thinking we are done with winter storms, right? Well, not so fast. Wait, there is more. We actually might see more snow as we go into Tuesday into Wednesday. This is a system that's going to actually come around kind of high pressure system back through the Rockies and eventually come back into parts of the Central Plains, Ohio Valley, and perhaps as far south as even the lower Mississippi Valley as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. There's a lot of uncertainty with this, exactly where the snow is going to fall, how much snow is going to fall. That is all up in the air for right now, but we do think that there will be some snow in areas like the Ohio Valley, and again, maybe as far south as Texas and Arkansas as we go into Tuesday and into Wednesday, and then eventually that moves out as we go into late Wednesday into Thursday, and then I think things are a little quieter as we go throughout the rest of February. It does not look like the GFS model is really favoring any more big winter storms really though after this weekend or even during the middle of next week. There are three key aspects to this winter storm, one of which being the snowfall accumulation, the second of which being severe weather, and then the third being the flooding risk. We are going to go in order breaking down each one of these. So we're going to begin with snowfall first, and right now in the Midwest, a general outlook for this winter storm as we go into Friday and Saturday. For starters, I would anticipate a widespread 2 to 5 inches of snow for most of the Midwest and as well as back through the Great Lakes region and the northern Ohio Valley, but I think where the localized heavier amounts of snowfall will end up being is going to be across southern Wisconsin and northeast Iowa, where there will be some areas around 3 to 6 inches of snow, maybe even a few locations closer to 8 to 9 inches of snowfall. And another area where I think there will be some significant snowfall accumulation will be back over in parts of northern Ohio and perhaps even eastern Michigan, where 3 to 6 inches of snowfall is what I'm currently anticipating. But again, those numbers could go up as we get closer, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel as we will keep you posted with the latest. Now, New England is a completely different story in most of the Northeast. We are talking about more of a significant winter storm in the Northeast as we go into this weekend. The amount of snowfall, again, still remains uncertain. It depends on a lot of different things. However, I do think many areas in northern New England are going to pick up on some more significant snowfall accumulation, as this is going to be a Saturday and Sunday event. It's not going to just be a quick 12 to 24 hour system. This is probably going to be ongoing for a couple of days. So I think many areas in northern and even central New England, and as well as across most of northern and western New York, will end up picking up somewhere around 6 to 12 inches of snowfall. Wouldn't rule out some higher, accumulation numbers as well. If you're further down to the south in southern New England, central or eastern Pennsylvania, or New Jersey, I think the majority of these areas will be anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of snow, perhaps as high as 6 or 7 inches of snowfall. But I think the worst of this snow is going to be in northern New England. Next up is the risk for severe weather as we go into Saturday and early Sunday. One of the biggest things that we are noticing as we go into Saturday is an ample amount of moisture and as well as instability that is going to be growing here across the Deep South and the Dixie Valley and even back up into the Tennessee Valley as we go into Saturday afternoon. Notice how far north this instability actually gets here into parts of the Tennessee Valley. We could see severe weather as far north as Kentucky as we go into the daytime and even into the evening hours on Saturday, which is really crazy even for this time of the year. So we are talking about a relatively large severe weather risk as we go into Saturday afternoon and evening here across areas in the southeast. Eventually, as we go into the evening and into the overnight hours, we do anticipate this severe weather risk to continue as a line of thunderstorms that'll be moving across areas like Alabama, Georgia, and then eventually going into South Carolina and North Carolina, and even Florida as we go throughout the daytime hours on Sunday. But the greatest risk for severe weather currently appears as if it will be during the daytime on Saturday, and the Storm Prediction Center does think that some numerous to even widespread damaging winds will be a possibility. So really the big concern right now for Saturday, again, is damaging winds. We do think damaging winds is the #1 concern right now for Saturday. It's not necessarily tornadoes, but here's the thing. We are currently thinking that we're going to see an elongated line of thunderstorms that is going to stretch from Louisiana and Texas all the way back into Tennessee, Kentucky, and maybe as far north as West Virginia. With that said, we may see some semi-discrete or discrete supercells try to form out in front of this line. If that for some reason does happen during the daytime on Saturday, that is where our greatest hail and tornado risk would reside. That is what is really the question right now with the severe weather setup. So we need to monitor this very closely. I think overall though, Saturday is mostly going to be a wind bag, meaning again a numerous area of damaging winds, and then eventually as we go into early Sunday morning, that damaging wind risk will continue to move to the east across eastern Tennessee, Alabama, and then eventually pushing towards Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. Another thing I want to point out is embedded in this line of storms could be some QLCS circulations, which could lead to more tornadoes. So something to watch for. These are usually very brief and quick tornadoes, but it is something we're going to be monitoring very closely, and we are almost undoubtedly going to be live on Saturday covering this risk for severe weather in depth with storm chasers and live cameras. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel and click the bell icon down below so you're notified with the latest updates. And lastly, this winter storm will bring a bunch of rainfall, and this is all going to begin on the West Coast today and as well as throughout the Sierra Nevada Many areas up and down the west coast of California and Oregon will see as much as 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. There will be some locations, though, as high as 5 inches of rainfall. And then back over in the Ohio Valley and the southeast, we are anticipating an additional 2 to 4 inches of rainfall for many areas back over in the Tennessee Valley and even into the Dixie Alley between now and Sunday night. So be prepared for this. Low-lying areas are at risk here of flooding. We are going to be keeping a very close eye on this, and we will be posting rapid-fire updates on our Facebook and Twitter page regarding flooding risks. And for easy access, you can follow those pages with the links in the description below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you've not already.